Hey folks, Mega Man and G here, and we have yet another weekly Flash review. This week is one that I just recently watched yesterday, The Fury of Firestorm. So here's the deal. I will be providing info on what the episode's about, as well as my thoughts. Keep in mind that when it comes to reviews like these, I really do get knowledgeable about stuff like The Flash. There are also spoilers, so if you have not watched this episode, watch it, then come back to my review, because I don't want to spoil anyone, okay? You've been warned, so let's begin. After the events of last week, Professor Stein's condition has gotten worse, and Barry and his friends are now hard at work hoping to find a solution. They were able to find possible candidates in the hopes that he can be saved. They found 2 of them, and they hope that maybe one of them can be able to be an acceptable substitute. But when one of the candidates' powers goes mental due to an incident, Barry and his team are left with little choice. They need to find the other candidate before the other's powers reach to the point where they will put innocent people in danger. Okay, so I think that wasn't a pretty good summary of sorts, but it's mostly to cover the main plot. The point is that this week's episode was good for a number of reasons. First and foremost is the introduction of a new Firestorm. Before anyone is wondering, Ronnie is not the first person to assume the mantle. There have been others, and what you're seeing here for this show is one example. We're introduced to Jefferson Jackson, a football player who hoped to achieve big dreams, but a certain accident put all those plans out the window. Of course, now his destiny is the second Firestorm, and he does a pretty good job. He's portrayed by Franz Dramet, and he does do a very believable performance. It was pretty good. It was very believable, and I enjoyed it. Having him as Firestorm was awesome too, though I know he's going to have a lot to get used to. He isn't like Robbie Amell, but I'm sure he can stand on his own in the later episodes to come. Remember the subplot regarding Iris's mom, Francine? Well, it was happening here, and boy, was I shocked. Finding out that even Francine has her secrets is a surprise, but it pales in comparison to when Iris confronted her about it. Man, it was an epic moment. Iris was pissed, and she even dropped a bombshell that Francine had a son. Now I know what you're thinking, a son. My hunch, and this is proven true, is that it's Wally West. And we know season 2 is going to involve him. Before I go any further, Wally West is Iris's cousin. However, for the series, they're going to do things a little differently. Also, they name dropped also the condition that Francine was suffering from. And it was McGregor syndrome. It was also mentioned in Arrow when the villain of the week, the Clock King, was affected by it too. But I'm surprised they used a term that was in Batman and Robin of all films to do this. I really am surprised. Who am I to complain, honestly? Anyway, the confrontation Iris had with her mom was pretty shocking, and I believe it's going to come to a head later on through the season. It's all the more reason to be excited, but also concerned. Anyway, the villain of the week happens to be Henry Hewitt, aka Tokamak. Tokamak is basically a Firestorm villain. Tokamak basically has the power to absorb energy such as electricity, and he can be able to use it as a conduit to deliver powerful energy blast. Yes, it's another villain from the Firestorm series, and you also notice the actor that is there too. Why? He's one of the faults that I found in this week's episode. Don't get me wrong, the actor who portrayed him, Demora Barnes, did a very good job. With what little screen time he had, he did pretty good. However, my main complaint with the episode is that he was underdeveloped. He was underutilized. He got to be a villain after 2 scenes? It's not right. Whenever you make a villain, it needs time. You need time to develop it properly. Give a motivation or something. And his motivation was that he wanted to become one with the Firestorm Matrix. I know that was his goal in the comics, but here they just rushed it through, and it made me feel really bad. It just felt bad. It felt disjointed too. Something's very wrong because I found the episode to be a bit disjointed, especially with the pacing on how he became a villain in the first place. I'm like, what the heck? Why? He gets pushed aside to be a bad guy while someone else got to be Firestorm. I'm sorry, but if you want to make a good villain, you need to give it time like I mentioned earlier. And that here was not the case. I feel really bad for the actor, but for what he was given, he did pretty good. Sadly, I can't say the same for how the rest of the episode went, and to this day, I still need to find a way to say my thoughts on the episode's flaws. and I speak of every episode because even a good episode can have flaws. Another thing I should mention, is that Barry now begins to harbor feelings for Patty. Don't know why, but I think they're going to try to have a relationship build between the two, just like it was in the New 52 when it was rebooted. We already had it with Barry and Iris at season 1, but it's been confirmed that the two want to develop their relationship over time and not let destiny decide their fates, which I like. I'm curious on how it will go this season. By the way, I am a Barry and Iris shipper. I really mean that. I really am a shipper of these two. One last thing. You know last week Harrison Wells is back, right? At the end of last week? Well, this episode, he appears in 2 scenes, and it's all the more reason to be hyped for next week. Especially at the end when Barry sees him and he can't find the right words. It was a great way to close out this week's episode, despite having King Shark appear for like about a minute or two. I do like how he looked though, but I wish we got to see him more in a future episode. He would be a serious threat to Barry. Imagine Barry having to deal with a man shark. It would be awesome. It really would be awesome, but you get what you got. Okay, so it's time now for our final verdict. As always, all scores for my episode reviews are opinionated, so if you want to disagree, be my guest. Final score for The Fury of Firestorm is a 7. A 7 out of 10 is all I'm going to give it, because even though we have a new Firestorm, a great battle at the end, some character development, and the return of Harrison Wells, the fact that the pacing was disjointed, the villain was underutilized, was what bogged the episode down. What more can I say, honestly? I do love the show, but I only wish that the writing could improve like the previous weeks. I want to be at the edge of my seat. I want to be excited, and I want this season to be even better than the first. Besides, Season 2's themes about the multiverse, so I want to see more of it. Oh yeah, one other thing. Jay Garrick wasn't there at all this week's episode. He wasn't. Not to complain about, but I feel that it's something that I should address. Anywho, that's it for this week's review. I hope you enjoyed it as much as I have, and if you did, please be sure to hit the like button. It really does mean a lot to me. Oh, and if you have seen this week's episode, please provide me your thoughts in the comments. I want to hear from you guys. I want to hear what you guys think. So, yeah, that's it for this week. Next week's review is the official return of Dr. Harrison Wells. Or should we say, Earth 2 Wells? Why is he on Earth 1? And the bigger question is he friend or is he foe? See you around in next week's review of The Darkness and the Light. See you then.